Hey everybody, it's Addie here, and I am coming to you today to start off the year with my first book of the week. As I told some of you, I am doing a 50 book challenge for the year 2019. And so that means is every week I will be reading a different book and giving a review on it. This is my first video and first book that I read this year. I did it! Woo! So the book that I read is called Becoming by Michelle Obama, and it is about 420 pages long. And I'm going to read a short description of what the book's about, and then we're going to go into some of my favorite parts from the book, as well as like my takeaways, and then I'm going to give recommendations, and then ultimately I'm going to rate it. All right, so I'm going to read a short description of what this book was about. So, when she was just a little girl, Michelle Robinson's world at the south side of Chicago, where she and her brother Craig shared a bedroom in their family's upstairs apartment and played catch in the park, where her parents Fraser and Marion Robinson raised her to be an outspoken and unafraid girl. But life soon took her much further afield, from the halls of Princeton, where she learned for the first time what it felt like to be the only black woman in a room, to the glassy office tower where she worked as a high-powered corporate lawyer, and where, one summer morning, a law student named Barack Obama appeared in her office and upended all her carefully made plans. Here, for the first time, Michelle Obama describes the early years of her marriage as she struggles to balance her work and family with her husband's fast-moving political career. She takes us inside their private debate over whether he should run for the presidency and her subsequent role as a popular but often criticized figure during his campaign. Narrating with grace, good humor, and uncommon candor, she provides a vivid behind-the-scenes account of her family's history-making launch into the global limelight, as well as their inside life in the White House over the 8 momentous years. Becoming takes us through modest Iowa kitchens and ballrooms at the Buckingham Palace, through moments of heart-stopping grief and profound resilience, bringing us deep into the soul of a singular, groundbreaking figure in history as she strives to live authentically, marshaling her personal strength and voice in service of a set of higher ideals. In telling her story with honesty and boldness, she issues a challenge to the rest of us. Who are we, and who do we want to become? So that was from the little inside flap. I just read it. I'm going to try to keep as much as possible up to your imaginations, and ultimately when you read this book for yourself, I don't want to have any like major spoilers or whatever. So basically this book was about her life growing up as a child, her life before she even met Barack Obama, her life when she got married to him, her life as she watched him delve into politics and ultimately run and become the president of the United States, and then her life as the First Lady of America and living in the White House. And then she gives a little excerpt about their departure from the White House and what life kind of looked like for them afterwards. I would say, I don't know if I'm even going to give quotes because I really don't want to give it away. This book was eye-opening for me. I'm not one to really follow politics, but during his presidency, Barack's presidency, I did kind of pay attention a little bit more. And I was more aware just because as an African American and as the first Black president, like that's something you got to pay attention to. And so I think after reading this book, I've kind of changed my mind a bit on politics. I kind of see it in a different light. So if you're somebody that's not like into politics and you're like, oh, that's a huge mess and whatever, I really suggest you read this book. It will probably change your mind. And so what I really connected with, and I thought it was so interesting that I found myself connected more to Michelle Obama than I ever thought there were connections, just from her humble beginnings and not feeling good enough and pushing past those things that people would tell her and telling herself that, yes, I can do it. Am I enough? Yes, I'm enough. That's that's a quote from the book, but she says it quite often that, yes, I'm enough. And that's kind of something I've always told myself. So when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, like we're totally like this, you know, just the way that we grew up. And then just reading about all the things that she set up and accomplished was pretty amazing. And so I would say, I'm going to stop trying to talk about what was in the book, but I would say my biggest takeaways from this book are that, I gotta like, it's all like sinking in. My biggest takeaways are that you choose the life that you want, you choose who you want to become, and you have the power and you have the ability to set that up. Like, even though people tell you all kinds of things, you ultimately decide where you want to go, who you want to become, and you have control over that. So reading this was just very empowering, especially if you're in a place where you feel like, oh, I don't have control over my life, or things just keep getting in the way. Like, no matter what's happening, you get to make those small decisions every day to pursue or go after what you want in the future. So I think that's like my biggest takeaway, is that you choose who you want to become. And as far as like what I'm going to apply from this book, I think if anything, it was just more fuel for me to really continue going after what I'm doing. As some of you know, I'm pursuing a master's in family therapy degree, and I'm in a program for that here in Colorado Springs. And so there's been times when I felt like, oh, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? Do I know enough information? And just kind of putting those doubts to rest and praying and talking to people and kind of getting rid of that ignorance by gaining knowledge has helped me really keep my head down and keep focused and going after what I want to do. And it comes with its sacrifices, you know, like I'm just crazy busy, but it's definitely rewarding to see what you want and go after it, no matter what anybody's saying, and even finding those resources to help motivate you and keep pushing you to where you want to go. So that's my application. And then as far as who I would recommend read this book, everybody. Not just everybody, but especially if you're a Black woman, if you are in a master's program, read it. If you're into politics, read it. If you're not into politics, read it. If you're a mother, you need to read it. If you're married to an entrepreneur, like I am, you definitely need to read it. Or if you have a busy lifestyle, or your lifestyle is different than your partner's, and maybe they're out there more, I would definitely read this. If you're struggling right now with where you're supposed to go, who you want to be, I would so read this book. So honestly, like everybody, but those are just like the categories that I definitely would say read this book. It'll fire you up. It'll open your eyes to what goes on behind the scenes. It'll show you like what it takes to get to those amazing places. So that's my recommendation. And then as far as my rating, 1 out of 10, I would give this a 9.5, which is really high. And I say 9.5 because there's still parts of politics where I'm like, and there was a section about Trump in there, and I was like, but obviously she's just going through history and things like that. It's an amazing book. It's so good. Pick it up in your bookstore, go on Amazon.com or wherever you can to go get it. And if you do read it, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you about the book. And so if you have comments or questions, you can post them below. But other than that, this was my first book of the year. It is called Becoming by Michelle Obama. And I'll give you guys a little glimpse if I can find it. Oh, I can't find it right now. Oh yeah, here it is. So next week I am reading, my next book is called Rising Strong by Brene Brown. And so if you have this book or you are reading it, read along with me. And at the end of the week, I will update you on how I thought this book was. So that's all I have for you guys. And have a good evening.